Welcome back, my Duelist friends. Casual Duelist here. It is Sunday. Normally, I've been taking Sunday off, which is a little weird because it was always Speed Duel Sunday. But we're also going to get back to doing some spotlights because, again, we're going to get a whole new set. And I started looking at a couple of these cards in a new way recently. So I thought it was about time we get back on the horse. We ride off into the sunset with this, and we talk about some more good cards. And this time I wanted to talk about the trap card Rising Energy. So you guys know I've used this in like my last two decks. I use this for Flame Swordsman. I just used this for my Tactile. No? Okay, I didn't know if anybody was going to enjoy that nickname, but the Tech Reptile build using the Thelonious Viper skill. And you know what? It's slowly becoming one of my new favorite traps, as well as one of my new favorite ways to just overpower the opponent. So I was using Shrink for a long time, and Shrink is good. But the difference between this and Shrink is Shrink has to target an opponent's monster card. So if for some reason, let's just say you end up facing Obelisk the Tormentor, he can't be targeted. So if it's just him and your monsters, but you activate the Shrink, you are contractually obligated to pick a target. And the target ain't going to be him. It's going to be one of your boys up here, or girls, whatever. It's going to be one of your monsters instead of him. And unfortunately, he was already outclassing you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have tried to activate Shrink in the first place. So this does require a discard of a card in order to activate. In our last deck, we did mitigate this by utilizing an older card. We used Sinister Serpent, which is, of course, again, available to us through Speed Duel. I don't remember which deck or pack list this came out of, but I do remember that this was part of the Duelist Kingdom series of sets. And again, they did kind of modify his effects that you just can't just abuse him like you used to, but you still kind of can. But what you end up doing with the Rising Energy in this is you do get to discard it, and then you get to recover your Sinister Serpent. So again, it kind of mitigates the costs while keeping them intact. So very fair, very cool. But again, back to the whole, why is Rising Energy better than Shrink? Shrink is variable. Shrink is always whatever half is. So it's never a standard amount. We don't know what it's going to be, but what we do know is that the larger the opponent's monster card, the more points we'll take off of it. So in the case of Jinzo, it goes from 2,400 to 12. In the case of Dark Magician, down to 1,250. In the case of Blue Eyes, down to 15. However, that's not always a standard because, again, equip cards exist, field spells exist. There are other effects that will be able to modify things. And again, sometimes you're going to have it to where your opponent's doing something. And I hate to pick on Dragon Color even right now, but with Lord of D on the field, you may not target Dragon-type monster card or cards with effects. So you can't Shrink that Blue Eyes, but you could still Rising Energy your Arcfiend Soldier. They can both be used during the opponent's turn. Once the trap has been face down for a full turn, we can activate it even during our own turn. So I can, on my own turn, activate the Rising Energy during the damage step. So we don't really lose any activating timing. The only real difference here is Shrink would be able to activate from my hand anytime during my own turn. But since we lack a main phase 2 in Speed Duel, it's really a toss-up. It's which one works better for you. And another thing, this will be my last argument for the Rising Energy. Some decks that I run, I use a surplus of cards that have the same effect. And one of the ways that I did this was during my Flame Swordsman build. I was running 3 copies of Misaki, but then I had 6 fusion substitution monsters in the form of 3 copies of Goddess and 3 copies of Ursago. So their effects initially state that you can only use one of them as a substitute at a time per fusion. The only benefit there was my skill card, Fusion Party, allows me to discard a card to activate it like Polymerization, so you could discard a surplus card there. But by using the Rising Energy, I was able to get even Misaki at 1100. Goddess, I want to say, is 12, and Versago, I think, was like 11 or 1,000. Um, you get these cards to be as strong or more powerful than Dark Magician. So again, even as basic cards, they were still able to go in. They were still able to do some work. And I don't see this card going to the ban list because it does have an initial cost. It does have a discard one card from hand cost. And in a format where you start with a 4-card hand, this is a little more kind of like a heavy-handed type cost as opposed to uh, the normal format, especially when it's normal format going second. Then you have 6 cards in your hand to start, so you have 5 other cards outside of this that can pay the cost for you. It's a lot easier to pay it in the main game than it is in Speed Duel. However, in the main game, it's just not as good because of the vast variety of choices that we already have. So hopefully that all made sense. Hopefully you guys get why I'm using this. And I kind of want to see you guys start playtesting this for yourselves. Maybe you guys are going to like it. Maybe you guys won't. But should something ever happen to Shrink, because again, going into this, we're going to get the Streets of Battle City by the end of the month. We should be seeing a new ban list relatively soon, which means I get a lot of decks that you're going to need updated. Not just because we have a new card pool, but because the card pool will have changed in a way with the limits that even a card or a deck that would not need any physical changes because it gains no new support may need to change because stuff that was already in the deck is now limited in a new way. So that's it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you did, do the things or don't. You guys know the drill by now. Do the one thing. I want you guys to go out there. I want you guys to enjoy your day. It's Sunday. It's the last day of the weekend. Unless, of course, you have a nice little wraparound to Monday. I don't know. Some work schedules, some workplaces have that, at which point this is kind of maybe the beginning of your of your weekend, at which point maybe your weekend just started, so have a good one. But I want you guys to have a great day, and I hope to see you guys again next video, all right? See you later.